Hi, this is B from Sorcery Soap, and today we're going to talk about ravens. So, and therefore black soap dough, because I choose to make ravens black, even though they have sort of iridescent, black based, but iridescent feathers. So this right here is a nice soap dough. And one of the things you can always tell when it's really good is when you first make it and it smooths like that, like you can see it, it smooths like that, it will come around and age nicely if you just wrap it up and leave it for a bit. But if you really need to make it right away, you can use it. But as long as, like, if it's smooth like that, you're going to be okay. Even if it's soft, it'll only get a bit more firm as it goes along. And some applications are really good for firm, a little bit more firm soap dough, and some aren't. So you're gonna have to figure that out. But lumpy soap dough is never very good. So there we go. So anyway, when I first started doing soap dough, I thought I made the chickens, and then I wanted to make a raven, so I made some ravens, and I thought I would keep it really simple because I was struggling with trying to keep pieces attached to each other. I hadn't sort of worked out the finer points yet. Obviously, it just started, and there wasn't anybody to ask, so I just wanted to keep it as simple as possible, so I made it like this. This guy's not the best. I used my better ones for soap, and now I painted him with mica, so now he's all over my hands, which was a mistake. I wanted him to be a little shimmery, but anyway, so now it's all over my hands, whatever. And then these I made for Game of Thrones fan soap, and I filled the eyes so that they would look, there's 3 eyes here for the 3-eyed raven, and I filled them with melt and pour. And I just took a little bit and packed it in there. Same here, you can't really see it, but I thought it might give some color to it instead of making the eyes black. So those were the 3-eyed ravens for the Winter is Coming soap, which was like one of my favorite soaps and got marginal attention. People didn't really, you're either Game of Thrones or not, so I understand that. And then these, there's a video on these guys, much more complex, which I'm not gonna show right now because the video is out there. But I will post it here so you have reference to it easily, and make some comments about that. This guy is pretty fun. I just sat down and thought, you know, let's see what I can do, like, to upgrade this raven. And so that's the guy I made, which I just pretty much adore these guys. I don't know why he's not sitting on my desk. Anyway, so we're gonna do that. Plus, because you guys are here, let's just put it that way, and I know that I can connect with you, and I can explain some things that aren't exactly quite, I don't want to spend all my day answering questions, we'll put it that way. So I know that you're going to ask me questions that are valuable, and don't judge yourself about asking questions. I don't mean it like that. I mean, you all seem, how should I put it? You all seem like you want to get to the work of it and not spend time asking questions that you could easily look up yourself. So the questions that I get here are really valuable to me. They're really important, and I'm super grateful for that. So that's why I'm going to share this with you. We'll put it that way. Okay. So I chose to share it here before I shared it anywhere else. And I don't know if some of you saw the unboxing video I did for Whitney from Cheeky Goat Soap. But there were some surprises in there, and I said, I can't tell you, and I was being all goofy and stuff, but I was so excited. Like, I was just tickled by the whole experience of it. So here's what I wanted to, and I started using them already, so without any more hesitation, I'm going to show you. So Lisa Cunningham from I Dream in Soap, she lives in the UK, and I met her. Irrelevant to that, I found, you know, in and of myself, I found Lisa to be very charming and lovely. And so I supported her when she first started to make soap dough. And what I mean by support is that, like, I just, liked her stuff and made comments and did those things because I was encouraged by her enthusiasm for soap dough. And she's come out with a new line of extruder discs that you can't get anywhere. And these are ridiculously awesome. And I just wanted to show you the ones. She gave me some special ones, which I'm really, really happy about, and I'm excited to try. Or I have tried, but try in soap designs and stuff. But here's what I wanted to share with you, that she has these on her website, and she has some of these too, some scrapers on her website. So I don't know if you know about those, but those are the things that you put inside the soap as it's starting to cure and it's starting to solidify, and you scrape a design in it, and then you pour more soap in it. And there's lots of videos about that. And the thing that she got, this is so cute, 1 fish, 2 fish extruder set, so 2 fishes in there, which is awesome. So I guess what I wanted to share with you is that this is the most important thing. Soap dough is just new. I mean, it really is. It's not been around a long time, and that there's a lot of new things that are coming out because of soap dough, and this is one of them. So these are very specifically, so maybe someday if you put in soap dough extruder set, that will come up. That doesn't come up now. So, and that's because, it's just sort of growing. So you're kind of witnessing, even though the books have been out there for a while and all that, and I've been working at this by myself for a long time, that you're witnessing the growth of this new thing, and how all these tendrils start to, branch out like this. And so it's a very tricky subject to talk about, since I was the one that brought soap dough to the foreground, and without sounding arrogant, and that's never my goal, is to sound arrogant or to brag. My goal is to explain things, and but more to the point. So when you think you have an idea that brings you joy, well, let me put it in first person. Okay, I thought I had an idea that brought me joy, and I looked and looked to try to find information on this subject, and I couldn't find anything. And so I was taught a long time ago that if I am not getting in the world what I would like, and my intentions are correct, then I should create that. And so that's what I did. And even when there were a lot of detractors and a lot of people saying hurtful things for no reason, still do, by the way, still do, like almost daily, ridiculous, that I did my own work and ground into myself and figured out that I was not causing harm with this. I wasn't trying to cause harm with any of this. I was trying to expand my delight and my joy in something that I found curious and interesting. And so I knew there wasn't a book out there, so I wrote a book, and then I wrote another, and it just kept growing because more people were asking me questions, and I wanted to have a document of where I could point them to. I never intended to print books. I never intended to publish an ebook. I never intended any of this to go in the direction it did. It wasn't like I had some master business plan. I was just doing the thing that brought me joy, and that's what I continue to do. So if you have a good idea like this, and you think it's useful, that's something to pursue, because the world needs more useful things, more positive intentions. So that's the end of my story. And I will talk while I work. So this is a very rudimentary raven, but it's really useful because there's very few parts that'll break off. This little nose could break off. As you can see, it sticks out. We can remedy that. And I was just saving it so that I remembered to make those once in a while. These could be like any version of complexity and whatever you think a raven should look like. When I first started my photography stuff, I started photographing ravens. I lived up north, and so I remember one time I was visiting a friend in Flagstaff, and there are these ravens playing. And the reason I say ravens very specifically, because ravens are different than crows, and there's a lot of ravens up in Flagstaff, and they're bigger and they're sleeker, and crows tend to look a little frumpy, not frumpy, they look a little less groomed. Like their feathers will be a little ruffled sometimes, and I don't know, they're just a little bit different. And so I studied the ravens, and I just thought, oh yeah, those are something I could get behind. Okay, so now he's eyeless, but we can make one with eyes and with feathers, like wings. So anyway, oh, I don't know if I explained this very well either. Oh, I'm just kind of distracted a bit. So when you, I'm going to loop back around to this. So when you extract from, I have a blog post and I have some videos about extractors. This is the extractor I use right now, and I'm gonna look for a better one, but this is the one I use right now. And then you put the disc on the end and all that kind of stuff. But when you extract it, it looks like this. So I'm gonna let this dry a bit. Dry / cure. I mean, curing is a crystallization process too. Some say yes, some say no. I just used a bar of soap that I've been sitting on my curing rack for a year. It's for my personal use. Phenomenal, like ridiculously phenomenal, super hard. So I think there is something that happens through the curing process versus the drying process, but we'll talk about that another day. Anyway, you can see this looks rather rough. It looks on the outside pretty rough. And let me show you. This is what happens when you take soap dough and push it through the extruder. And on the side, this is what it looks like. Wait, where am I? I'm not even on the camera. I'm sorry. So this is what it looks like. It looks weird and rough, but you can see, well, I don't know. See, it's not too tall enough. Here, this is what I cut the end of it off because the end of it is kind of munged up right on that side. So I cut the end of it off, and this is what the mouse looks like. Here, let me see if you could see that. So when you put it in your soap and you pour your batter into it, one or the other, depends on how fluid your batter is, for sure, right? So if you have really fluid batter and you put this at the bottom, this is going to float and you're going to have to reposition it, and you can't really see through the soap, so it's hard to see. So what I do is I pour it, and I don't like waiting for my soap to get thicker. That doesn't make me happy. What I like is to pour soap and to leave it, not touch the top. I like it all to be nice and flat, unless that's part of the design. So what I do is I put this in. So I would put this in like this into the wet soap, into the freshly poured soap, so that the soap can seep into this little here, this little tail part here like this. So push it in like this, and then I use chopsticks and I position it, and I have to feel it with my chopsticks, and then I put it where I want it to be. Sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. I imagine this will work a lot better than some of the raindrops I've used because those are really hard to feel. Anyway, that's that. So let's do this. So yeah, so now you guys are kind of, you know, not kind of, we all are in on the formation of this sort of new thing. And I don't think it's a fad necessarily any more than soap swirls, like, you know, hanger swirls and whatnot are a fad in soaps. They're just another technique that we do with handmade soap. And those of us that love handmade soap and love the art of it and everything now have soap dough in our repertoire to, you know, in our little toolbox in order to pull that out and say, yes, I can do that. I can make soap. I can make soap dough. And the other thing that happens that I have seen start to happen, not very much talked about, but like here's my experience, is that soap dough, when you make soap dough in order to touch it, you learn about your cold process soap, if you use the same recipe, of course, from a different way. So the things that didn't bother me before I started making soap dough, and their beaks are a little bit curved down too, by the way, so that's helpful when, especially if you don't want it to break off. So anyway, the things that didn't bother me before about soaps and soap making, like an accelerated soap, a floral scent, I didn't care before, and the roughness, it sort of turns into, if it accelerates quite a bit, it sort of makes it feel like hot process soap. So those things didn't bother me so much before, and then when I start, cutting a piece off and trying to mold it and feeling the texture of it and seeing how unsmooth it is, and then it starts to occur to me that maybe the soap actually doesn't form in the way that I think it does when it accelerates versus when you're making soap dough. And I have people ask me, how do you make your soap so smooth? They look like super smooth and shiny and things like that. And so because I've been cultivating soap dough and I use the very same recipe for my soaps that I do for soap dough, that I get this, like, that's what I tried to achieve as my my standard, which was a really smooth soap dough, a really smooth soap bar. And when I pour and then I plane them off, they almost look like plastic. And I think some of that has to do with maybe silk. I'm not sure how that works chemically. I really am not. It's just a protein, so it's hard to say. It's a fiber though, right? So there's that. We'll put some eyes. I made a second one so you can see, but we're going to put some eyes and some wings on this guy. And let's see, where's my course? Oh, here it is. So let's see. So, and crows, ravens have almost facing eyes forward, almost, but we can characterize them pretty much any way we want. So did I just see a little lint? My nemesis, those lints. Okay, so now I made some eyes on him, gives him a little character, and we'll make some wings for him. So anyway, so that study of it, and I don't mean proper study, I mean just like observation and experience and those kind of things, that hasn't really come to the surface about understanding. So maybe in the future people will go, oh yeah, you can understand what kind of soap you're making if you touch it, or if you experience it as a soap dough. Maybe that'll be a thing. Who knows? Again, I just didn't expect any of this to go in the direction that it did. But I can tell you that one of the things I find it unnerving when people take credit for things they had no hand in, like no hand in whatsoever in creating. And I'm not just talking original soap ideas. I mean, absolutely no hand in making something. And they just want to disparage. And so I've had to stand up for myself over and over again based on that, and saying, yes, show me the proof where soap dough was around and there was any books, any material at all on soap dough before I came around. And that is just a statement of fact. It's sort of like anybody else that wants to muscle in on something. And that's me standing up for what I see as true. And I'm open to being corrected on that. However, I am open to it, except that I've never seen any books printed on soap dough. So I'm only telling you guys that because I don't know. I think because I think you understand what it is, what we're doing, all this new stuff that we're doing. And that's why you're here, because you want to see some new things in soap and you want to learn new techniques. So So that's why I'm sharing that. Anyway, it's not. And then, you know, when it's all said and done, it's just like, it makes me laugh because I'm just like, yeah, all these are very important principles and all these are very important things. One, you just don't try to steal from somebody who has an original idea, all that, yes, yes. And they're standing up for what you see to be true, right? That's all very important. And then at the end of the day, it's just soap. And I watched this thing on Buddhism about finding the reincarnated Rinpoche in Tibet and the process that they go through and all this. And I studied at Temple, and that's a whole nother story for another day. But I studied at Temple, so I have a little bit of a feeling, you know, of what they were going through. I had no idea, so I learned something. And then the other thing I realized as I was talking about the movie to Jeff last night was that, I'm looking for this, oh, here we go. I'm going to put some eyes in him. Was that I find it really interesting, of all the things that I chose in my life, that I would choose something that is so temporary, so transitional, impermanence. Like that's in Buddhism, they talk a lot about impermanence and the impermanence and the permanence of things. And so, you know, they make the mandalas, and the sand mandalas, the official sand mandalas, those are pretty crazy awesome. And they do them for different reasons and ceremonies and whatnot. And then they leave them, and then they come and just like save all the sand because it's considered sacred sand, but they save all the sand, they wipe it away. And, you know, I know a lot of people go, well, I can't use that soap and this and that. I understand enjoying it for a while, but it's temporary and it's going to be used and it's going to dissolve whether it's in your presence or somebody else's presence, right? So, and then I think, oh yeah, but this is just soap. The monks, they make these things of a remarkable beauty and healing, and then they just wipe it away, like without an attachment to it. And so anyway, that's what I strive to. So there's another version of a little raven. And see, I feel like he just slipped. I kind of like him very much, but I do like him very much too. And you see like how smooth it is. So if I smooth it down with my finger just a bit, it makes it super shiny. So, and oh, I know what I was going to say too. One more thing, like really truly soap related, not like philosophically related, but so my soap dough I make with activated charcoal and black oxide. I don't know why I can't drum up that word. Black oxide, right? And so it will sort of bleed sometimes. I'm very, very careful in how much I use, but if you use too much any oxide, it's going to bleed. You're going to get colored bubbles in your soap. So I strive to not use those, and why I use micas, because they don't do that as much. And micas help me to make better soap dough. And if you didn't know, in the lighter color micas, there's titanium dioxide. I learned that from, because there's a mixture for the color, right? I learned that from the brilliant and knowledgeable Carrie Thornsbury over at Nurture Soap. And she has some interesting blog posts over there. She's very knowledgeable and she takes her job very seriously. And so at one point I shopped around for micas, and there's a couple micas I can't get anywhere else that I truly like that produce some things. Colorants Micas, Wholesale Supply Plus, TKB, those kind of things. They're very, very sparse, like just 2, maybe 3 I do. And everything else I get from Nurture, because number one, Carrie takes feedback on stuff. And so when I was struggling, and I didn't do this on purpose, but when I was struggling with my reds in soap dough, and she and I were having chats about this back and forth, she put her mind to it and she came up with a bomb-proof red. That Trial by Fire has never failed me, not one time, and I've made tons and tons of it in soap dough. And the nice thing about it is that, as far as I know, I don't think it bleeds, but it definitely, as soap dough, putting inside of a white soap doesn't bleed. That's all I have to say today. That's my little thing on ravens. And if you want to, I'll put an end link so you can go take a look at these ravens too that are out on YouTube's The Tubes of You. And I just went through the other night and took off all my ads for my YouTube videos, so you could watch those ad free. There you go. Have a great day. Thanks.